Welcome to the School of Travel's podcast. I'm your host, Becky Gillespie, and each week I bring you stories of how travel can truly change your life if you take the chance to get out on the road and step out of your comfort zone. My guests also share travel tips and lessons they've learned along the way, which I hope inspires you to let travel be your teacher. Hello, listeners. I'm really excited to bring you this week's episode. I do want to make you aware that throughout the episode, from time to time, you will hear a thud in the background, and what that is the guest hitting the table as she's expressing her points. So there's nothing wrong with your listening device, just wanted to make you aware, and I hope you enjoy this interview with Yasuko. Welcome to episode 3 of the School of Travel's podcast. I am here today, very honored to be with my friend and former neighbor, Miss Yasuko Watanabe. Welcome to the School of Travel's podcast, Yasuko.
Hi, Becky.
Hi.
All right, thank you for having me, and I feel so honored too.
Yes, I'm so glad that we got to get back in touch here in Tokyo after years. I lived in the same building as you for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's such a coincidence, and we met here again, and I'm glad that you came back after the long trip.
First of all, Yasuko, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Yasuko Watanabe, and I'm a Japanese, and I was born and basically or mostly brought up here in Tokyo. And right now I'm working for myself, self-employed, and I do interpretation from English to Japanese and Japanese to English, and translation, and I teach English to business people as well.
Do you feel very busy?
We're not that busy, and it's just well balanced, and I love my clients, and I love my students, and I'm enjoying this work right now. I've worked for many companies, and different things. Like I did a film buyer, broadcasting rights buyer, or I worked for some IT company. But right now, I'm just enjoying these 3 combination.
And that's one thing I really wanted to talk with you about in this interview. I find you to be this very interesting person because you've definitely found a way to get out of the normal role as an office worker, let's say, in Tokyo, which, as we both know, can be very, very time-consuming, really a stressful life.
Right. Originally, my major was English, but it was more like literature. And the reason I majored that was that I wanted to become like my grandfather. He was a kind of entrepreneur. He had his own company, and the funny thing is he established his first company in Philippines. So I think I've been influenced by his life or history, and also my father worked for his company, the grandfather's company, and they were both involved in a trading business. So naturally, I was attracted to that kind of something international. That's something I want to do in the future. I had decided when I was very small, and although I couldn't speak English, so it was more like after the graduation of the college, I started more seriously the English, and then now I do use English almost daily basis. So yeah, and I enjoyed all the different industries like a trading company and computer company, airlines. As an interpreter, I worked for some U.S. company, and cable company, and an IT company. I enjoyed all this, but as you can imagine, that each company was just a few years, so that my experience and expertise is very shallow. And although I recognized myself as such a challenger, but then I also felt like my expertise is very shallow. But now, doing interpretation, translation for all the different sectors and the different clients in different industries, I now feel like all this my shallow maybe experience, but in a different industries, across the sections, is maybe helping my clients. So now I feel a bit confident about my whole experience, and I'm really glad that I've worked for all the companies.
Yeah, so it sounds like all these different experiences has really just made you, as you said, more confident. But going and maybe you worked with people from many different countries, I imagine.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And you said your grandfather was really a role model for you.
Although I don't want to, imitate his personality. He was really stubborn because from a very older generation. But I think he was a really strong person. Yeah, he didn't talk much, but very, very strong.
Would you say you were very close to your grandfather?
Not much, because he wasn't that kind and very distant. But we lived in the same house for 2 years or so. When my grandmother passed away, several different people tried to take care of him, but finally my father's turn came, and but it didn't last very long. So,
but the stories that you heard about him and his business in the Philippines
from other people, like his business associates, much later. So now I feel like, as an self-employed person, that if you are here, I wish I could talk with him and ask about his business experiences and how he felt about it.
Right.
Yeah, so sometimes talking to him in my mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can still, maybe get some inspiration and probably still now hear stories about him.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I decided to become an independent worker is that probably, as you mentioned, I got tired of being a company employee and these commutes, tough commutes in Tokyo. But I also felt like I've challenged everything now. Maybe it's about time to challenge something totally new, which is, self-employing or founding or establishing my own company.
Right, really taking charge of your own life.
Right.
Completely. So would you say that your grandfather is the first person that inspired you in terms of travel?
Didn't, until now you said that, I didn't think about it, but probably, yeah. And he is a person. Then the second person is probably my father, because my father and mother, although I feel I wasn't very close to them, but I now feel grateful to them for giving me an opportunity to travel abroad for the first time when I was in college.
How did they give you that opportunity?
Kicked me out of their house. No, that's exaggeration. They said, you should probably experience international travel, because I'd never done it before. But that's also my generation, or back then, that not so common. I'm not that old, but compared to those teenagers nowadays, I'm a little older, so it wasn't easy to travel abroad. Well, we'll buy you this travel, including air tickets, and you can stay at my business associate's home in Philippines, my father said. Okay, 1 week in Philippines. Not bad. I will take that chance. So that was my very first international trip.
So 1 week traveling alone to your father's business associates.
Right.
And was that in Manila?
Manila. Yeah, residential area.
Okay. And you just stayed with the family the whole week?
Right.
And did they take you around?
Yeah.
See some things?
They took care of me wholly, and really appreciated, but I wasn't adventurous enough back then, so I didn't know how to enjoy the trip. So they kept asking me, where do you want to go? We'll take you there, or what would you like to do? I had no idea. I mean, I read guidebook, but it didn't come to me, what should I do? It was really, how can I say, my eyes were still closed for the trip.
I mean, Manila had to be so different from Tokyo. What did you think?
This family, my father's business associate, was really, I think, probably not rich, not really millionaire, but rich enough or well off. So they lived in a Beverly Hills in Manila. So they had 3 Mercedes. They showed me around, but so I couldn't see the real difference. But if you stop in a car at a traffic signal and these kids come up to you, wipe the window and clean it, and then. So obviously, well, clearly, I could sense the difference. That we don't see those kids in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, there are rich people and poor people. I can see the very severe difference. So that was a kind of learning experience. Yes.
How did you feel about that when you realized this difference?
Hard to say. Well, these people are on rich side and these kids are not. But still back then, my eyes were still closed or my mind was still baby. So I didn't feel really something sharp yet back then.
Mm-hmm. So you went back home after a week, and then what was your next experience traveling?
It was after maybe started working, maybe at my first company, and then I traveled to Singapore, I think. That was my second trip, international trip, I guess. Yeah, if my memory is correct, right.
As a business trip?
No, at the first company, I was a secretary or assistant to the very senior executive, the head of that department or division. So actually, although other people were traveling, but I didn't have much chance to travel. So after I decided to quit the company, I traveled.
And you chose Singapore as this trip?
Maybe not, hadn't decided yet clearly, but yeah, I really felt some urge to travel. I had to go somewhere, and somewhere close enough, somewhere I can afford. That was Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
And I traveled alone.
Oh, really? So that was only your second experience,
but then I was also spoiled or fortunate because the subordinates of my boss were waiting there. Kind of took care of me.
I see. And you'd arranged that ahead of time, and you're like, okay, someone will be there the first time I get there.
Right.
I'm alone, but I won't be once I get there.
Right. So, yeah, I've been spoiled.
How long did you spend in Singapore? Time?
Just a few days, I think 3 days or 4, I would say. I don't remember, but we're not so long.
Okay. And what did you think about Singapore? I know it's, again, a very different country compared to the Philippines.
Very clean and multicultural. Yeah, Asian, yet very westernized, of course, with British influence. But I enjoyed Malay culture also. I can smell it. I could smell it. And yeah, just in all this mixture I enjoyed, including food.
Yes, that did strike me when I first went to Singapore as well. Because in Japan, where I'd been also living several years, it's a much more homogenous culture. And so when you go to Singapore, it's like, wow, how do they all exist together?
Right.
And seems in peace and harmony.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so then I have to ask, that's, a short trip.
Okay.
Your friends were waiting.
Yep.
Have you ever traveled alone? Or when was the...
After that?
After that.
Oh, so many times.
Okay. And in a place where you didn't have friends waiting, it was just I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, what was your first solo trip? Do you remember?
First one, yeah, because I worked for this US Airlines as an in-flight interpreter, I often traveled with crew members. But after arriving at the destination, especially in the States, I was alone unless there were friends or cousins, or I have some relatives in the States. But so often I spent time alone, and the layover is just 1 day or 2. So often I was alone. So that could be maybe called a solo trip.
Yeah.
But then the longest one is probably the one from France to Italy. I think I was in between jobs, but I was really confused about my next career. I wanted to take enough time to think and also to see the world. But I couldn't spend that much time or money, so I decided to work. I mean, somebody gave me that, Miss Ono, somebody gave me this chance to work in Cannes, France, for a week or so for some conference, international music conference, as an interpreter. Then I worked there, staying in the Japan village, and then after the completion of that conference, I started traveling, taking this train from France, going into Italy. So I'd made a reservation for some places, but for some places I didn't.
You just showed up and said, "Do you have any rooms?"
Yeah. So it was really adventurous.
And did you feel comfortable when you were doing that? And
Somehow I felt okay. Yeah.
that's great.
Probably one of the reasons was it was in winter.
Oh, it was in winter.
Europe winter, usually empty. Summer, I would be scared not to have any reservation, but I had at least a key point reservation, and also that it's winter, shouldn't be that crowded. That was my idea.
That's probably accurate, I would say. How about the food in France and Italy? Was it no problem for you?
No problem. I can eat anything. Basically, where I have nothing I can't eat. I eat anything. I enjoy almost anything. So I really loved French food, Italian food.
Wow.
And the difficult thing was in Italy somehow no problem, especially in France for dinner. Unless it's a really casual diner or something, it was difficult to sit in nice restaurants because, people were watching me kind of, are you alone? And to order something, there is nobody to share with. So sometimes I only ordered one big soup.
Slowly had it.
Delicious, but I can't spend too much, Okay, so today's dinner is only soup. Something like that. That was a difficult part. But other than that was okay.
Okay, wow, that sounds so... I would love to take a trip like that. It sounds very...
And both countries are so beautiful.
Yes.
Especially spent so much time. I think I stayed there like a week or 10 days. I don't remember, but it was beautiful.
Well, I have to ask you a bit more about your time with, you said United Airlines? U.S. Air? Was it U.S. Air?
United,
okay.
Well, yeah, okay, now I have to confess it was United Airlines, yes. And they used to have interpreters in Japan and some Asian cities. But the Japan or Tokyo or Narita was the biggest part.
Okay, so you were an in-flight interpreter, you said.
Yeah.
That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it was. Because...
Do you want to share any stories with us?
Oh, okay, yeah. How can I explain that I didn't do food services?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the airlines. I wonder about other airlines. Delta, I don't think they had. Now it's gone, but the Northwest used to have an interpreter like United. But those interpreters did both, food service and language service, I heard. But at United, it was a specifically language service only, including marketing activities. So the interpreters offered mileage plus services, like if you join, these are something that you can enjoy, and talk to as many passengers as I can, and sometimes or usually after each flight, write a flight report, in-flight report. Things were like this. These things that happened, and also that these services should be improved, blah blah blah, to the Chicago, the headquarters of the United Airlines.
Okay, so these were flights coming from Japan to the U.S.
And also some Asian cities. Yeah, nowadays the flights out of Narita are changed because of the collaboration with All Nippon Airways, but back then, we enjoyed those trips.
It sounds amazing.
Nice cities, yes.
Yes, yeah. And did you ever have because my first thought when you talked about your job, I thought there was an emergency on the plane. She had to jump in with her interpretation skills. Did you ever have something like that?
Luckily, I never had that kind of opportunity. Sometimes, the flight, just a few times, the plane had to go back to the original airport after, 10 minutes or so. But it happens, once in a while. So not real emergency. I never experienced.
You're right. That is pretty lucky, actually. Wow. So you've had quite a few adventures, it sounds like, in travel and in the air.
Right. The working as an in-flight interpreter itself is, quite adventurous and then, challenging.
I feel like if you choose to become an interpreter, your life is going to be related to international relations in some way.
Yeah.
And probably you're going to end up getting on a plane and traveling somewhere.
Probably, yes.
So, well, I'd have to ask, like, how do you think travel has changed you? What has it taught you?
Like I said, when I traveled to Philippines, my eyes were closed. I was still a travel baby. But after that experience, gradually my eyes started opening. That means probably not to the physical countries or cities that I traveled or experienced to, but that also means cultures, people, mindsets, food, architectures, earth, or anything, that my eyes are now widely open. I'm a very curious person now. Probably I'm more proactive compared to those days. Everybody has both parts, both extrovert and introvert part. I was probably originally introvert person, but both speaking English and traveling gave me some extrovert parts or personalities. So now I'm mixed. I still enjoy reading book alone and quietly. And then after going to the party, I still need some kind of quiet quality time. But I'm more extrovert compared to those days. So
Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I think so. That's definitely something required for business.
That's a good point.
And communication skill. Well, I still feel I'm not good at communicating with people in some part, but I learned a lot from people. And sometimes, like this big trip in Italy, France-Italy trip, I learned people are also the key to make your impression a memory. I always tell this story to the students when I teach English, especially for beginner. Well, of course, if you can become a fluent English speaker, that would be great. But you don't have to. I mean that even if you're not fluent speaker, that shows if you try to help people. This one Shane from Italy, where I was driving in Siena, and Florence to the Chianti area, and to Siena I was driving. After staying several days in Chianti, I went on to the Siena. And Siena is an old city, so when you drive into the old city area, the streets are quite narrow, and then you get stuck. And I couldn't find my hotel, and I was lost. What should I do? Oh, there is a lady with a boy. I thought she should be safe enough. You choose person to ask. Oh, okay, let's ask her. And then turned out she couldn't speak English. But I could tell with her, this body language, she's trying to find somebody who speaks English. So just wait here, please, she's saying. I was so moved. And then after that, this nice young Italian gentleman came up and helped me. But I don't remember this gentleman, but I still remember this lady. Because she was trying to help me somehow, although she couldn't speak English. And then it really melted my heart. So sweet. So that makes a memory of Italy. And then after that, I fell in love with Italy.
Oh, what a story of connection. People, I think, are inherently good and want to help you.
Right,
and I think
it's like one scene from a movie.
Yeah.
It still sticks with my heart.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think there's so many times when we're scared to travel to certain places,
right,
especially by yourself. And I've always found that things do work out generally.
Right.
If you, like you said, choose the person.
Right.
It's a good way to start.
Yeah, that you have this hunch and use this hunch or that kind of, that gut feeling. Yeah, you can usually, you're such a traveler, so you probably study in advance and research, but then also you use your gut feeling, right?
I would say I use my gut feeling more than I study it these days.
Oh, okay.
I start studying when I get there. It's like a little more spontaneous, but sometimes it's helpful.
Right.
Yes, in advance.
Right. Yeah, I do both, the combination, so.
Well, would you say there's one place you've traveled to that was your favorite? Or that taught you the most? Or
It's difficult, but as of today, something, okay, something totally different I'll give you. Hanoi.
Hanoi? Wow, why Hanoi?
I traveled to Vietnam with my friends. One was Japanese guy, and the other was American woman, my female friend. And I don't know how it came up. At some party, we were talking, and then somebody said, I want to travel to Vietnam. And that was probably my friend Susan or myself. I don't remember. Then this guy, Japanese friend, said, I want to join you too. Oh, okay. And then three of us gathered in Ho Chi Minh, not in Tokyo. So everybody flew in by different flight. And my friend Susan was waiting for me at the airport. And so we went to the hotel, and then the guy was staying at another hotel. But we gathered and had dinner together. And then we traveled from Ho Chi Minh to Nha Trang, and then Hue and Da Nang. We hired a car, including the drivers, from Nha Trang to Hue and Da Nang. But I think in Da Nang, we said goodbye to each other because they had work to, go. They had to go back to Japan. I still had several more days, so I stayed in Vietnam alone.
Oh, wow.
And I flew to Hanoi alone after saying goodbye to these two friends.
And you'd never been to Hanoi?
First time. Yeah. And so that's why I remember, or I decided to pick this up. But yeah, that was quite an experience. I think after long travel in Vietnam, I was really tired. And I wasn't in good condition. And on the street, I remember, I threw up.
You threw up? Just all of a sudden?
After having dinner or something, and these local people came up to me and tried to help me very nicely. Oh, where are you from? This sentence everybody can say. I'm from Japan. After that they can't continue in English, but I could sense that they are trying to help me. But then, it was nothing serious. I think just fatigue. So I went back to the hotel, and then did some activity. I don't remember. Probably I went to that famous water puppets or something.
Oh, yes.
Water puppet theater.
I've been to Hanoi. I went to Hanoi in 2016.
Okay.
Also by myself.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that the vomiting is the one of the reasons I remember. But then also the city was so beautiful.
It's a magical place.
Right. Very different from Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh is, I would describe it like Osaka. Very commercial. It's also nice and a beautiful city, but architecture-wise, I enjoyed Hanoi. Beautiful French-style architecture, and
I love that center, that
Right.
central quarter with all the different streets,
Right.
with the different...
and also the beautiful lake, and sophisticated, and
Did you see Ho Chi Minh? Did you visit Ho Chi Minh?
Yeah, I started from Ho Chi Minh.
Well,
Right.
okay, actually, I'm sorry. That was a bad question. I should clarify this. Did you see Ho Chi Minh's body in Hanoi?
Oh, right. Did I? I don't recall. Well, in Ho Chi Minh City, there were so many. They call him like Uncle Ho Chi Minh, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in Ho Chi Minh, in Hanoi, probably not.
His body is there. The mausoleum.
Oh, right. I couldn't visit because that day the museum was closed or something.
It's quite an experience. I would recommend going back when you go back.
Okay.
Take some time. It's just it's one of these, the communist leaders that they preserve, and they're always their bodies are getting refurbished, let's say.
Okay, that's what you meant. Yeah, because there were so many statues, I remember. So the real physical body, you mean?
Yes. I mean, it's popular to go and see him, but
Right. Yeah, I think that museum is closed or during my visits for maintenance or something, or that regular holiday. So, anyways, I couldn't get to see him, but yeah.
well, he's looking good. Looking good.
Okay.
They often send, often they'll shut these monuments down to refurbish the body. So you never know. You have to kind of check in advance.
Okay.
But same in Moscow if you go see Lenin. And I think also in China, you can see Mao Zedong. It's similar, I believe. But yeah, wow.
Okay.
Hanoi, you're bringing up some good memories for me too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There are many other cities I would like to visit and I like to travel to. At the moment, I can't afford it, so I have to work more and save more money. But I love traveling.
That brings me to another question. Where would you like to travel to next?
Well, there are so many places I'd like to visit in my bucket list. I mean, I haven't written, but in my imagination. Right now, as of today, I would say Penang, Malaysia.
I've never been there either.
Really? A friend of mine is such a traveler, and she travels all over. Her recent trip was Penang, I think. She uploaded some photos from there on the social media. And it looked so beautiful, colorful city. And she kept saying that these local people here love eating and they make a delicious food. So, okay, I have to go there.
That is why I want to go. I've heard it is one of the best places in the world for good food, especially street food. So, I don't know. Maybe we should end up meeting there at the same time. You never know.
Maybe, we should discuss.
Yes.
Maybe we can travel together. Right. Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of perhaps meeting you in another country.
Yeah.
When you travel and you're packing, do you have, I'm curious about three, I like to call them unique items that you always feel is important to pack. What three items can you not leave home without?
Not really. As long as it's a city or the country that the people are living. No, nothing special, but I would say deodorant.
Oh, yes.
As a woman.
Well, it's interesting in Japan because here I can't buy antiperspirant deodorant.
Right.
But and so I always have to make sure I have that before I come here.
Funny thing is that whenever I travel to the States, like New York, Los Angeles, wherever, San Francisco, I try to buy a bunch of them.
The only thing is, I believe it's healthier to not have it in the deodorant, but because there's aluminum and things like that. But so far, it's the best still that I've found. So, okay, deodorant, yes, you need that.
And another thing is, not for travel, even here, it's for myself, but eyebrow liner. Because I don't have, I'm losing my eyebrow hairs.
So, but anything, particularly for cosmetics, that can be really hard to find. And you can't read the language on the, you're like, is this even, what is this?
Yeah, is it an eyeliner or eyebrow liner? Or is this just a pencil? So, yeah, eyebrow liners, I would say.
Do you have one more thing that you're like, man, I have to have that in my suitcase?
This dictionary? Especially for major languages, that this as a travel conversation.
So this is called X Word Data Plus 7. I've started using Google Translate, the app, as I go around, and I know they're always trying to improve it, but I mean, this seems like it probably has more thought out sentences for specific things. We'll put this model on the website. I have a final question for you that I really like our listeners. I always want to, if people are anxious about traveling or they've not traveled very far, like maybe you when you went to the Philippines, do you have any advice for people that are thinking of taking maybe their first international trip or pushing their boundaries?
Okay, the choose country that which you really want to travel to. For example, Italy, especially Tuscany, was in my mind for quite some time.
That was like your dream?
Yeah, because of the movie. Yeah, There was a title. What was the title? Stealing Beauty with Liv Tyler. It was a beautiful scenery. So something like that. So if it's too far to try for the first time, and then choose something closer, or any reason is okay, but something that you were dreaming or you were curious about, and then do research in advance and study it if you can, because one of the reasons that you feel anxious about it is because you don't know, you're scared. So just check that, well, this is a dangerous part or risky area, and then study that, and then you feel much better about it, and ask around for information, and then be prepared, and then book, and then travel. Enjoy.
You make it sound very easy. Do you have any tips for like saving money to do something like go from Japan to Italy or the US to Italy? Because sometimes I think, wow, that would be very expensive.
Okay, I think it's still open. So it depends on the country, but especially for those Catholic countries. In Rome, I stayed at convent, and for women, convent. Okay. For men, monastery. But the convent I stayed at in Rome is right behind Navona Piazza. So it was convenient enough, and it was really reasonable. I paid, I don't know, it was a long time ago, so paid like $30 or something per night. And clean bed. It's not gorgeous at all because it's for Christian people to visit Vatican. But it was very clean and nice room, and the bathroom was shared. But there was a bathtub, and if it's empty, you can just go in and use it. And even families could stay, I think. And the nice thing about for traveling alone, if you're a woman, is that there is a curfew. So at 11 p.m. they close the door. There is a nun or the woman working for that convent watching that entrance. So it feels quite safe, and you can make a reservation from your country.
That is a great tip. I've never done it before. I'm going to look into it as well. And it sounds like there'd be a whole network around the world.
Right.
These places.
And probably in the season, I mean that, there should be the season that the people gather for those, especially for Rome and Vatican. But if you try to avoid it, probably it's okay or not crowded. Or nice, and including breakfast. Like a just easy one, like a coffee and cheese or ham and the bread, that's included.
That sounds great. I wonder nowadays what the price is going to be.
I know, but you can easily check it on internet nowadays. They use internet, I'm sure. Yeah, check it, please. And people are, of course, nice because they are welcoming everybody, and clean, safe. These are very important, especially for women.
All right. Well, thank you for that tip.
You're very welcome.
And if we want to find you on the internet or find anything that you're doing right now, where can we find you?
Okay. I'm blogging about food on the blog of a blogger and called Always Eating. And I think my title, I've been lazy, so I now feel I need to update. Always Eating, but the title is What I Eat in Japan Every Day.
Okay.
And I'm using my real name, Yasuko Watanabe. So you can probably find it.
We'll put a link to it as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
I
Becky.
loved hearing your stories.
So we have to travel to Penang.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start planning now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. I really hope that you enjoyed the interview this week with Yasuko. In all the podcasts I've ever listened to, I can say that I have never heard a Japanese woman interviewed, and so I thought it would be really interesting to hear Yasuko's perspective on travel. I just found it really interesting to hear how she put travel into her life and allowed it to teach her so many things. I want to leave you with a travel quote from one of my favorite authors. You may have heard this quote before, but it just inspires me every time I hear it, and so I wanted to share it with you today. This is by Mark Twain, who says, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. Have a great week, listeners. Thanks for listening to the School of Travels podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a rating wherever you get your podcasts. Special thanks to The Sam Chase for allowing us to use their song, In a Perfect World. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode, and remember to always let travel be your teacher.
If you keep your options open, there are places you will go. They will treat you like the kings and queens your parents thought you'd be when you were born. You'd see it all with your head up standing tall, and you'd look back and think it's funny how you spent your time and money